Every day we here at MidPoint attempt to use the English language properly and make words come alive with the proper pronunciation and thus allow you to better understand the issues. We seek not to mangle the language, but to make it live and breathe, or as my sainted granny used to say, people will judge you by the way that you speak. She obviously never considered the difference in English between those who have spoken it for centuries and those who brought it to the new land. All right, brush up your linguistics. Our guest is American by birth, British by choice, author of That's Not English, Britishisms, Americanisms, and What Our English Says About Us. Welcome Erin Moore to MidPoint. Erin, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me on the show, Ed.
Erin, this quite doesn't sound right here. There's a language barrier between the Americans and the Brits. My God, woman, I never would have thought that possible.
Well, the quote about two nations divided by a common language is generally misattributed, but it really trivializes the problem, in my opinion. I think the differences go much deeper than just the surface bit of language. It's really the cultures are so different, and language is just emblematic of that.
Isn't that it, though, what we really need to consider? That certainly, I mean, I've got pages here of words and phrases that are different between the British and the Americans, but we just have to say that it's not as if it's a real choice. It's culture. It's bred over hundreds of years, yes?
Exactly. So when Americans came to America, they left speaking the same English that the English did. And over the next century or so, we all, our English evolved in different directions. And so actually it wouldn't really be fair to say that one English is the mother and one is the child. They really, since the time that America was founded, have very sort of consciously and unconsciously grown in different directions, and they're siblings.
Is it fair to say that a lot of the times when Brits speak to Americans and back and forth, that it might not be the actual words themselves, but the slang sometimes that's native to the countries that gets us in trouble?
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. Yes, there's a lot of slang, British slang and American slang. American slang is really easily accessible to them because our culture is so aggressively exported. Every American movie goes to England. Every American book, it's really everywhere. It's the wallpaper. It's not something they have to opt into. Whereas for Americans, Anglophilia is something that, is widespread but not universal. So if you're not interested in England, you wouldn't know how many words and how many slang terms there are that are different, and you might have trouble communicating when you go over there.
Aren't the British really proud of that, though? I have some friends of mine who say, we're very proud of the way we speak, and as long as we don't speak like you over there, we feel better.
Well, it's funny. I think there is a bit of snobbery toward Americans, but I think that, Americans used to be snobby about Britain. So back shortly after America was founded, there was no love of a Britishism. There was this feeling that America needed to throw off the shackles of the motherland, and Noah Webster was a big proponent of that, and it was because of him and his work that we ended up with all of the different spellings that we have and some of the different vocabulary words that we have. He was very against American people speaking like the British, and so it's really interesting because now the shoe's sort of on the other foot. Now that America is the overdog country, the British get annoyed by Americanisms, but it used to be the other way around. It used to be that Britain was seen as sort of the linguistic oppressor, and Americans felt the need to shake it off.
I've only got a few seconds left here. What's the one word that gets Americans most in trouble when they say it over in England?
Definitely quite. Because in America, if you say you quite like something, it means you love it. And in England, if you say you quite like something, you are damning it with faint praise.
Be very careful then, ladies, if you walk up to a gentleman and go, I quite like you, you're
exactly.
in big
quite
trouble.
Attractive.
Quite attractive. Big trouble. The book, once again, is That's Not English, Britishisms, Americanisms, and What Our English Says About Us. It's a fascinating and it's a very fun read. And remember, words you don't say over in the United Kingdom. Erin Moore is the author. Erin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Ed.
Pleasure. Take care. Second hour of MidPoint. The arena opens for business and tackles everything from lies between friends to nothing but hype from a presidential candidate. From the reality of skinheads in America to another reason George Zimmerman needs to realize his 15 minutes are up and maybe he needs to shut it once and for all. The arena, a special part of MidPoint, begins right after this.